Episode number 73 of Making the Case. Do women want to be men? Let's find out. Hey, what up, YouTube? We back at it again, episode 73. I'm your host, Dr. Jacob Isom, educator, author, speaker, entrepreneur, consultant, content creator, father, a little bit of everything. All right. So of course, before we get into anything, we gotta go over our two channel norms. One, we'll take points on our people. Then two, we don't do all the cussing and derogatory stuff. We like to keep it professional over here. So today's episode number 73 is, do women just want to be men? All right. So of course, let's get into our opening statement. You already know it's gonna be a fire episode. Now let me tell you why I even came up with the question notion of, do women want to be men? Now, we know that there has been plenty of conversation about nowadays women being more masculine and men being more feminine. Now, there's a lot of evidence to speak to that. This episode is not about making a case on whether men are more feminine and women are more masculine. This is not the episode. I'm more than willing to make that case or to make a video over there, but today's episode is not that. What I'm going to really be discussing is that the mentality of women more so than anything, right? The fact that I do hear a lot, and I'm pretty sure you guys do as well, of when women are in leadership roles or when women are in their careers, they say they have to get into their masculine. I've literally heard that out of women's mouths myself, right? And then you also hear, but when they come on to their boyfriend or husband, they're soft and they submit and they feminine. Now, I doubt that that's the case for most women because I don't think it's a switch that you just flip on and off like that. But people are going to say what they're going to say and believe what they want to believe. Now some of it may be very delusional, some of it may be outright lies, but it is what it is, right? I am under the impression that I believe a woman, if she so choose to, can be in the leadership position but still be feminine. I also believe that femininity is a superpower. I believe that women should bask in their femininity, be what they were naturally designed and created to be, instead of trying to be something outside of what they truly are. And that's really what this episode is going to be talking about, for the fact that you even have the notion, I think I mentioned this in a video, a couple of videos prior, that you literally got women that believe they are alpha females, right? When I don't think the term actually exists. I already broke down where the term alpha came from, so we're not even gonna go back into that. So if you haven't checked that video out, please go back and watch it. But the whole notion that women are actually wanting to be masculine or be in a masculine frame, right? Is kind of, I don't want to say sad, but it kind of is, to be honest with you, because we need the balance, right? So I don't think our society will be okay with men saying, you know what, I'm going to rest in my femininity as a nurse, as a teacher. But when I get home, hey, I'm gonna be that masculine man you need, baby. Like, the double standard is real. And to be honest with you, it's really not a double standard. It's just the fact that people literally think that that mindset is okay. All right. Which I believe is essentially hurting our culture and our society more than anything. Right. Of course, the breakup of our family, and we can list a whole laundry list of things that are actually hurting us. But we're going to stick on topic in this episode, which is, we're going to make the case that women slick kind of want to be men a little bit, right? Or at least That is what's coming out their mouth, and that is what their behavior is showing us. Okay. So I got a few videos, and I do have an article that I want to read to you as well. So buckle up, hold on tight, because we got another banger for you. All right. So let's go ahead and get into our first piece of evidence, shall we?
You can't be used, you're not feminine. Feminine women are useful women. Masculine women are not useful. Masculine women are competitors. This is why when you sit around and deal with a masculine woman, you feel drained. It's because you're actually in conflict with these women. You can't.
All right, so that was my first piece of evidence from none other than the Godfather himself. Say what you want to about Kevin Samuels. He used to spit facts. All right. Now, was his delivery harsh sometimes? Yes. Did he get out of bounds? Like a lot of us can, right? To be honest with you. I'm pretty sure I done said some stuff that you disagree with, and I was pretty harsh or pretty aggressive. Yeah, I mean, it just is what it is, right? But he's absolutely correct. When it comes to women saying that they're masculine, what they're really talking about is they're trying to compete with men, right? I've said before, I don't look at, and I think most men don't look at women as competition, right? That's not a sexist thing. That's not anything like that. Men look at other men as competition, right? It's a reason why in sports, men compete against other men, right? It's no different than any other thing, right? Whether that's business, what, etc., right? So when it comes to a woman saying that she's in her masculine or she have to be, you hear this when it comes to women rearing their children, right? Oh, I had to be the father, so I had to be masculine. Is that mindset that is really hurting us, right? The fact that a woman feel like she can't be in her natural state because the masculine energy is gone. So she feel like what she's doing is replacing the masculine energy just by speaking a certain way and acting a certain way. That's not how masculine and feminine energy works, right? You're either other male species or you're not. I mean, it's that simple. But a lot of women getting into their head that they're alpha females. That they're being masculine. And this is part of the problem, right? So I think this is an intentional thing that a lot of women are really putting out there, right? That, oh, I'm in the business world, or I'm in a position where I work around a lot of men, so I have to act like them. When that's not what you're doing, okay? You're acting outside of your nature, fair enough, but you're not being a man, okay? All right, so that was the first video I want to show you. Let's go on and get into the next video that I have for you. Let's get it.
They're leaving university and they're suddenly smacked in the face with the real world, right? All that fluffy, it's going to be amazing. You're going to work really long days and make no money. And women get out and they're genuinely shocked. Their tears are real on TikTok. I believe that those tears are real. And I defend these women because they've been sold a lie. Their whole life they've been sold a lie. They're told to do the opposite of what would make them happy, right? The opposite of finding a partner in life. And then quite magnificently, men are being told to act like women. Women are being told to act like men, and men are being told to act like women, right? Again, these phrases, toxic masculinity. Oh, men, you should cry more, share your emotions. How about don't, right? How about don't? Of women crying. They're leaving university and they're suddenly smacked in the face with the real world.
All right, so that was my second clip, my second piece of evidence, and I guess I have another back-to-back controversial figure in Candace Owens. Now I'm a very fair and objective person. I don't agree with a lot of things that she say, but some things I do agree with, and this video is happen to be one. When it comes to speaking on gender, I totally agree with her points that she say when it comes to gender. It's the politics that be giving me tripping, but let's not digress. So this is part of the problem, right? And I already mentioned, she mentioned in the video that, well, women are being told to be men and men literally are being told to be women. And of course, I think you understand what I mean by that, right? Taking on the characteristics and traits of the opposite sex, right? That's really what we're talking about. So the simple fact that women have been literally raised to go the university route, to go the job route, to uh have children at a later date, to focus on getting money to do this. And so women have literally been raised this way. Okay. And so now in our society, we seeing the effects of the last couple of decades of women being raised this way. Now that's why we have so many single parent households. That's why we got so many issues with gender identity and etc. Right? All because of the breakdown in this family, because men and women are going into the workforce. Men and women are focused on their finances, investing, and we kind of put the family to the backside, right? Now, because there is a small, I would say, there is a very natural instinct for women to be nurturers, for women to want to have kids at an early age, right? This is backed up by data. I'm pretty sure I've already shown you in a previous video. The fact that women naturally want to be mothers, right? It's in our nature, right? Just like men naturally want to protect and provide. But what we have done, we've got outside our natural roles, and we think that everything is just about consumerism, capitalism, right? And so women are getting out there and they want the same luxuries that men have. They want the power, which creates their ego state, right? So, hey, I mean, the future is looking bleak, but I believe with enough conversation, with enough people who are going to be brave enough to call this stuff out, we can make a difference. But you know, hey, there's power in numbers. I will say this. All right. So let's move to my last video clip that I actually have before I get into the article. And actually, I think you will like this one. It's a little bit longer, but you'll appreciate the things that the sentiments that are being said in this video. All right, let's do it.
The statement was that if men could think more like women, we would be in a better place in the world, and that women make better leaders if they are thinking like a woman. And that is that women tend to think more about collaboration, community, connection, intuitively, sensitively. And women have that ability within their brain to literally not only see the immediate problem and get it fixed, but how is this going to affect other people? How's this going to affect the community? And to bring in everybody's skills and talents at that time. The problem is that that is true of the stereotypical woman. But what we understand is that the brain will change depending on the environment it's in. So a woman who has fought to get to the top of the ladder or fought to be at the top of her business using her masculine attributes of assertiveness and maybe even aggressiveness and domination and independence will unfortunately have changed her brain patterns so that her brain is looking much more like that of a man than it is a woman. So for women to be able to think like a woman, they too have to revert to their more feminine qualities. And that means accepting their intuitive insights, being more sensitive, being more vulnerable, accepting their weaknesses and not seeing them as weaknesses, but gifts of learning, gifts of tools. And for women to do that, they need to become more vulnerable. And that is a threat to many women who have built up so many defenses to stay in the world that they are, which is often a man's world, and hence they become mini men to do that. So for women to take on the leadership qualities that the doctrine talks about, they need to learn to listen more to their intuition, to their heart. And that means not looking outside for their identity, but truly listening inside. Because the gift of a woman and her power as a leader is to be able to speak clearly from her heart, from her power, about what is good, not only for her, but also for the community. And as far back as the Iroquois Constitution, which really was the basis of the American Constitution, it was women, the grandmothers, who were chosen to be the leaders, because the peacemaker who set up the Iroquois Constitution said only women know what is worth fighting for, because it's only women that knows what it is to carry a child on your breast and then have to bury them later. And it's only women that can see far enough into the future to know, is this worth going to war for? So it's no different than being in the business world. It is women who look further ahead. It's women who consider everybody in the business and see them as relevant rather than what is our short-term goal and how can we get there, even if that means that the family is separated from the person who is the worker. And I think that in the doctrine, it came very clear that countries like Japan and China, Korea, which have a very strong patriarchy, it was the men there that said, yes, we need to look at how the women think and how the women behave, because our pattern of just working and forgetting the family is no longer an option. And unfortunately, we have as many women who are doing exactly the same thing, which is they're working so hard, they don't have time for not only their family, but for their relationship and for their own self-nurturing. And so for women to take these leadership powers on that are described in the Athena doctrine, women are going to have to return to what is important to me, not only as a woman, but also as an individual. And what have I given up to get to the position of power that I'm in, which might be powerful in a man's world, but is not powerful in a woman's world.
All right, so that was another clip that I have for you. And I will be honest with you, before doing the research for this video, I have never heard of the Athena doctrine. But it was an interesting perspective because with doing the research that I was doing, this was based off of actually a pretty large study that was done to pretty much show that, well, when it comes to women in leadership, it's more conducive or productive for them to use their feminine quality versus feeling like they got to compete and become masculine just because they're around a lot of men. So, and the points that she was making in the video, they were very fair, to be honest with you. And I can definitely see how um women using their natural state and being a leader, I think it can be done in the household. I think can be done in the business world or etc. I think it's something if women were to lean into because it is natural to them that I think it would be very successful and effective. And once again, they'll get back to that balance, right? I was just telling a coworker of mine, like, I know I need a woman because like I can be too logical. I can be too like straight to the point and stuff like that. I need someone to balance me with the emotions. Like, hey, can you have a little sympathy and empathy over here, right? But I know I need that. So like it's always about balance. And I think if we had that in the leadership sense, I think we really would benefit, as she was saying in the video also about like when it comes to war, right? Like can instead of killing each other, can we literally talk this over and come to a resolution? So absolutely, I think men and women should be doing more work together as it relates to family, leadership, anything, right? Versus always having, when we talk about the matriarchy and the patriarchy and stuff like that, we always feel like we have to choose sides or one has to be better than the other. And that's part of our faulty thinking. All right. So let me get to my last piece of evidence. I do have an article for you, but it's a really good one. And we're going to wrap this episode on up. Let's get it. All right. So my last piece of evidence, we're going to wrap this episode up. Do women really want to be men? And based on what we've presented thus far, I think a lot of people have the sentiments that, yeah, a lot of women are intentionally saying they're masculine or calling themselves alpha women and things of that nature. So I have an article from a platform called The Modern Man, of course. Never had an article from here before. And they actually have a question: why do women act like men? So we're going to see what they have to say about it. So let's get into it. Most women, especially in the West, are now more independent and confident than ever before because they can survive, thrive, and prosper without the help of men. But by the way, men have created the foundation for them to even say that or feel that way. Let's continue. The changes in women have brought a lot of benefits to society, tolerance of others, a more loving approach to running society. But it's also messed up the dynamic of women playing a more traditional role in society and in relationships. This is true. The consequence of women having power and independence in the modern world is that many confused women are beginning to behave more like men than women. So why do women act like men? Some of the main reasons are, let's see if we agree with these reasons. Women are no longer completely dependent on a man to take care of her and provide for her. Today's woman is more empowered, educated, independent, can make her own money and take care of herself without the protection of a man. I agree with that, except the last statement, protection of a man, because women depend on protection from men in order to make sure they're safe. Firefighters, police officers, majority of them are men. So while they think they're independent, and the only reason why they feel a sense of safety is because they're under protection of men. Does that make sense? All right, let's keep reading. Women are now in the workplace doing jobs that used to be done mainly by men. And they had to keep up and appear to be doing their job as well, if not even better than their male colleagues. That's the competition part. That's the masculinity part, right? The divorce rate is still very high, so many women have to approach life more like a man and ensure that they are financially independent or at least capable of surviving on their own. And that's part of the problem, too, is the fact that a lot of people equate making money with being a man or being masculine, as if women like never worked ever in history. A lot of it, they worked, a lot of it just wasn't tied to money or tied to being outside the household, right? But just because you make money, that don't make you a man. Like, I don't get that. Many women have to raise any children by themselves and play the part of both the mother being gentle nurture and the father being a strong disciplinarian, which, okay, I give them that point. I'll let that slide. While women are getting stronger emotionally, many guys expressing their masculinity and are becoming confused about how manly they should behave around these strong masculine women. Now, and I'm laughing because of this. Like, so women who think they are masculine, they will say, yes, you have to be a strong man to deal with me because they taking on this masculine trait, right? So that's creating a relationship dynamic shift because essentially what they're saying is you have to be a gangster, a thug, but you need to be intelligent. It's so now it's this whole laundry list of what they want in a man because of how they act and how they thinking. And I think number 5 speaks to that. All right. So here's the thing. Just because a lot of modern women act like men in the workplace or out of necessity to survive in our modern culture, it doesn't mean they actually want to be men. Well, doesn't that address my case? The majority of women still want a man to be able to take the lead and be the more dominant one. When he first meet her, takes her out on a date, takes her into the bedroom, gets her into a relationship. I totally agree. Naturally, most women still want that, right? And that is the confusing part, right? They want that, but they still want power, money. They still tell men they broke, they ain't got enough money to be with them. They need to support them. Like it don't align. It don't match up. With the man being a more dominant one, it allows her to then relax into being a feminine woman for him. As a result of the clear masculine and feminine difference between them, a natural sexual attraction will occur between the man and the woman. If a man is unable to be more dominant than her, she might put up with the lack of deep attraction for a while, but she eventually get bored and dump him. And that's facts, right? That's why the last video episode was on what? Can you make a woman happy? Right? So if she gets bored, she gets unhappy. Period. According to most statistics, women initiate divorce 65 to 70% of the time, meaning that men only ask for a divorce 30 to 35%. Based on my experience helping men to get a girlfriend, fiance, or wife back, I found that the number one reason for breakups is that the guy simply wasn't enough of a man for her. Now that's tough. He might have been man enough in the beginning, but he eventually became insecure and ruined her respect, attraction, and love for him. If you want a woman to feel attracted to you when you meet her and remain attracted to you in a relationship, you have to be an emotionally strong, emotionally masculine man. And to be honest with you, I don't think most people understand what masculinity means, what it looks like, what it is, what it sounds like. And that goes for both men and women. So maybe we need to do that, or have I already? I don't know. I need to look into that. Women have changed over time, but their natural instincts have stayed the same. Back in the early 1900s, relationship dynamic between men and women was very different. Generally speaking, most women had no money, couldn't get a job, and had no property of their own, so taking care of themselves financially was almost impossible. Well, they didn't have to, because it was essential and necessary for a woman to couple up with a man, not just for having kids, but also for having something for herself. But that dynamic, even though it might seem oppressive, what a lot of women would say, it worked, right? And it wasn't just about a woman having to depend on man. We understood that the woman was there. She didn't work because she was rearing the children. It worked. So the number one main influence was that mother. And when that father came home, it wasn't such of an outside influence like now when we throwing our kids in daycares and we throwing them in schools and we throwing them on family members. Somebody else is raising our kids all the time. And then you wonder why our world is the way it is. Boy, don't get me started. All right. For this reason, most women got married to whatever man they could get as long as he could provide for her. Love was something that a woman hoped for, but she often had to miss out on love and just accept a guy who could provide for her. But that's the problem, right? It's not about duty anymore. It's about love, quote unquote. But then come to find out that love be fleeting so bad because people ain't staying married. Since divorce was virtually unheard of back in the early 1900s, women had to stay in the marriage whether she was happy or not. Even if her husband was cruel or abusive or emotionally weak and unattracted to her, she was stuck with him for life, or at least for a very long time. In today's world, however, most women won't settle for being stuck with a man if he isn't man enough for her. So even though a woman might be dominant, act like a man in her professional life and her personal life, she needs to know that the guy she is with is man enough to handle her stress, so she can relax and be feminine and girly in contrast to his masculinity. And that is what really bothers me when a woman's saying, I'll be in my femininity when I can see that you masculine. It's just like, oh my God. It'd be so hard to hear. Because once again, when you reverse it, reverse, I'll be in my masculinity when you show me you can be feminine. How did that sound? Oh my gosh. All right, we're not going to read too much more of this, if any more, to be honest with you. Oh, I do want to read some of this. Most modern women feel too embarrassed to admit they don't want equality after all. No, they don't. As far back in the 19th century, women had been fighting for equality with men during World War II. Millions of men went sent off to war, and the women left the home were forced to take on the role of a man by giving up their role as housewives, secretaries, and domestic workers. All of a sudden, they took on traditionally masculine roles such as munition workers, heavy construction machinery operators, etc. When the war was over, many women refused to go back to being a housewife secretary because they were enjoying doing a man's work. So the traditional male-female role began to blur, and many women began to act like men. And that is where it began after World War II. That's when everything changed. And then you add in the feminist movement, the sexual revolution, the civil rights movement, right? You added all those movement, all those wars. Welfare comes into the picture. You add all those factors, and you have what we have now. I think that's a great place to stop. All right. Hey, so let's go ahead and go into our closing argument because now with the article I read, it says that, well, women really don't want to be men. And fair enough, that may very well be the case. But what I will say is women are confused. A lot of times women don't know what they want. Hell, they don't even know where they want to eat. Right? Their hormones fluctuate. So on any given day, they can change their mind. So being a masculine woman is not even beneficial to who they are naturally. But yet they've been sold a bill of goods, and the feminist movement is to blame, right? Mothers are to blame in these single parent households. Even fathers are to blame who push their daughter to go to college, don't depend on the man, etc. But what he really should have been telling his daughter is no. Yes, do what you love, but find someone that you can share life with and y'all build together. That's what he should have been telling her. But because we raise in these dysfunctional, traumatic environments, we don't know how to build family. Many of us don't understand what culture is because we didn't come up in it. So that is really the crux of the problem. And it may not necessarily be that women want to be men, but women definitely want the perks. They quote unquote want equality, but really they want all the positive and the fun stuff that comes with being a man, but they don't want the accountability. Hey, and I think that's a great place to stop. All right. Hey, it's another interesting episode, I must say. As always, man, I appreciate y'all for rocking with me, man. Go check out the other episodes. Definitely comment, like, subscribe. Make sure if you got any suggestions you want to send me, of course, the links will be in the description. If you want to get my latest book, The Relationship Guide, The Business and Science of Reasoning, of course, my website will be in the description. So go and get that book. And hey, as always, I'm you, you are me. Love always, love eternal. And remember, the worst thing you can do is lie to yourself. And I think we just made that case, baby. All right. Deuces. One love.